Hello everyone, I'm Samruddhi, founder of Probus Studio, and I'm excited to announce the launch of our brand new podcast series called ImpactX. ImpactX is a platform where CXOs, business leaders, and industry pioneers come together to share untold stories, deep insights, and actionable ideas. We are kicking off our first series focused on GCCs, how India's role is evolving from a cost hub to a global innovation powerhouse. Our first episode features an exclusive conversation with Mr. Ravishankar Pingali, MD, Wurth IT India, a tech GCC of a leading German enterprise. Ravi would be sharing his insights on the GCC market, innovation trends, and untapped opportunities shaping the nature of business in the region. We also have with us our host, Ms. 𝗁𝗓𝗏 Jadhav, an industry-led research analyst who blends 18 plus years of experience into CX, MarTech, and enterprise tech.
It's a pleasure to kickstart this series with your expertise, Ravi. And I think it's a perfect time
to talk about India's GCC story because it's evolving faster than ever. In fact, the transformation is being actively supported at multiple levels from industry bodies like NASSCOM and government initiatives from the Ministry of Electronics and Information and Technology. They're all championing India as a global GCC destination, not just for cost efficiency, but also as strategic innovation hub. So what's driving the shift from being mainly seen as a cost arbitrage destination to now becoming an innovation powerhouse?
Fantastic question. I think to begin with, it's a handiwork of decades of global trust, right, on Indian talent and delivery excellence, right? This happened over the years and decades rather, right? And what's also happening now is, given the cultural fluency that Indians have, they're able to collaborate with anybody in the globe with a lot of nuance as well as empathy. That is actually a critical aspect, which I think is not mostly underplayed, apart from the technical skills that India has, right? I think, and we have a very vibrant ecosystem of academia, startups, and digital ecosystems, right? I think all these are coming together, and that's what we see today is, culminating to about 1,800 plus GCCs, employing 2 million professionals in digital AI, data, and everything and all the global enterprises are driving their key initiatives from India. And India is no more an extended team. I think they're co-creating with the global enterprises as a part of the team. So I think the conversations are no more about cost saving. It's about building scale and capability.
Okay, that's a remarkable shift from just cost saving to real innovation and leadership. So Ravi, what do you think is the biggest catalyst for this change from a market and a scale perspective, especially with projections for pointing over 2,400 centers by 2030? What makes India so attractive even for micro GCCs?
Yeah, India provides unmatched scale and sophistication, right? Deep digital expertise, infrastructure, and innovation hubs. I think all these are massive ingredients for why we are where we are and where we are heading towards, right? And this is not available anywhere in the world. And to add to it, government is doing definitely every day, they're evolving the policies, making it easier for businesses to set up here. And this also giving the SMEs, which are non-global Fortune 500s and thousands, even they can afford to set up a shop here with a specific purpose. And that's become even more easier, right? I think this is what is driving the entire wave at this point in time.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see how India balances massive scale with such deep personalization.
Yeah.
So Ravi, what exactly is a micro GCC and how different it is from a traditional large center?
That's a great question, Shruti. Micro GCC is essentially a small, compact offshore unit, anything between 25 to 300 people, teams, specifically focused on innovation, agility, and specialization, and closer to outcomes. Unlike traditional GCCs, which focus on scale and efficiency, the micro GCCs focus on outcomes and agility and speed and precision, right? And that's what makes them different. And that is what is coming up now pretty much in India. And that's something which they're trying to leverage of India's talent pool.
Absolutely.
And in a sense, it's nothing but it trades precision over scale.
Right.
right? I think it prefers precision over scale, and that's what people are doing.
Yes, so I think the focus on agility, the niche expertise, and also the business outcomes, sounds as a game changer over here, right?
Yeah.
Also, what we are witnessing is that it's just not the giants, but the small and mid-sized companies are jumping on the micro GCC bandwagon. So, why is this model gaining so much of traction amongst SMEs?
There are essentially three shifts, right? One is accessibility. What it means is people can set up a 50-member team in any city in India with all the ecosystem in play in a matter of weeks or months, not years, which is pretty quick compared to what it used to be. Second one I'd say is ownership. SMEs or any business for that matter want to own their own IP and the product roadmap and everything that they're doing, right? And particularly those in the digital business model. For them, IP is key. So rather than outsourcing, they can insource or build their own team in India and get it developed and have the entire control over the ownership and the speed of everything, speed and quality, right? The third one is the ecosystem fit, right? Which makes it easier for them to build these teams together with the startup ecosystem that India has. Much easier, right? I mean, much easier to build their teams without having to hire every role that they need, right? And which actually gives them a lot of speed and agility and gives them the flexibility of downsizing or adding more people as required, right? I think, and that we have a lot of innovation hubs in India, which makes it easier for them to plug into along with academia.
Right. So I think the point is about owning capability than scale, right?
Yeah, essentially, I think they can own global capability without the real scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now talking from a strategic and technology perspective, how are these micro GCCs leveraging technologies like AI and digital platforms?
I think they have become the nerve centers of the global enterprises. I think driving predominantly their digital and AI and data initiatives, right? They're embedding themselves in the innovation clusters that India has, like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, all these centers where they have a lot of clusters of innovation. I think they're leveraging that talent as well as the associations with those particular clusters. And the second one, I also think is they become the nerve centers of digital innovation for their enterprises. That's a big deal, and and that's important. And India being a populous country, I think they're also leveraging. There's something concept of reversal of innovation. So they're also trying their pilots in India and then scaling globally, which gives them a massive advantage in terms of scale and the skills. Right, I think that's something which is very dominant in many places because many enterprises also have India business. So whatever they're trying, if they try and get it right in India, most likely they'll get it right in everywhere else in the world. Right? I think the advantage of being and developing in India and rolling out in India, the pilots, and it's definitely a big deal which they're trying to leverage on.
Certainly, and this will create a bigger impact, like you mentioned, co-creating with startups and also reversing the flow of innovation. Yeah. I think these are very relevant points in the current scenario. So what I understand is micro GCCs are lean, but do they deliver, big results? Now, I also want to know some real-world examples if micro GCCs are really positioned to deliver niche and high-value innovation.
Absolutely, I think their size and focus and make them suitable more for high value innovation, to be honest, right? And of course, I cannot state the names, but I can definitely tell you there's a US retail who have a 50-member team in India and primarily driving their AI-driven personalization engines, right? Which is a big value add to the business. Likewise, a European bank have a GCC in Hyderabad and they're driving their AI model governance from here, which is a big deal from a standpoint of a global footprint, right? I think there are multiple such examples which are definitely doing it. I think like we always said, the focus and purpose-driven reason why micro GCCs are set up is the biggest advantage that they have compared to the larger ones in being outcome-based, not adding. That's where I think headcount doesn't really matter.
Right. So what you just said, so innovation is just not about size, but about the focus and impact. I think that's going to stay with us long. we also know that no model works without any hurdles. So, do you see a niche innovation leading to larger global rollouts from the micro centers? And also, what are the challenges do micros GCCs face compared to the larger centers?
That's a very fantastic question because agility brings its own trade-offs, right? I think one, I would say the biggest one is talent retention, because the micro GCCs take time to get recognized in the market for the branding standpoint, right? Of course, and that's why the key for them is going to be able to not just attract, but retain them at length for them to really have their IP in control, right? I think that's definitely a challenge. But of course, there are ways and means to do it, but there's no real silver bullet. The second one is governance. When I say governance, I mean as much as we want local autonomy, I think we should not get disaligned with enterprise, the central headquarters. That's important. Otherwise, it really damages the very purpose of being here, right? I think that alignment is always important, right?
Yeah.
Third one, I think, is scalability, because after a certain team size, they start plateauing, because with the focus on innovation, they probably don't really take care of the leadership, the next level leadership,
Yeah.
which is important when you scale, right? I think this could be three,
Yeah.
broadly the bigger three challenges that many micro GCC can face.
Right, absolutely. I think balancing agility with enterprise alignment, I think it must be truly very tricky.
Right.
Also, we know that leadership often makes the difference between success and stagnation. And certainly the key here is that micro GCCs should stay in sync with their headquarters, right? And having said that, can you also share some best practices as of how can micro GCC leaders address these issues like the leadership gaps, hidden costs, or even slower ROI?
I think that one touched my pulse, actually. I think typically I would say all great leaders to take off three things. One is create the next level of leaders, right? I think we need to start ahead of time, and we need to always have this player and coach model where with the tech and management kind of a oversight, right? And that's something very important, which people typically lose sight when you're head down and building something, right? And that's where the challenges happen. The second one obviously is persistent communication with the enterprise, the headquarters, because deliver results in 90-day cycles rather than annual cycles, and demonstrate it as frequently as possible, right? With absolute precision, because that also helps you gain confidence of the enterprise. That's important. And from a cost standpoint, in India, I think you can leverage a lot of shared infrastructure. Like I said, the innovation hubs, the co-location spaces. I think leverage them to the fullest so that the cost aspect is still under control, and you don't start becoming expensive for a small organizations like SMEs we talked about, right? Because one need to be viable, obviously at the same time delivering value, and should be visible at all point in time. I think these three elements typically are something any leader should be very wary of and keenly taking care of in the micro GCC.
And I think it should also start at a very early stage, where they are nurturing this kind of leadership
Absolutely,
in the
yes.
organization,
Yeah.
right? Also looking ahead, are micro GCCs stepping stones to larger hubs, or they are here to just stay as lean models?
I think both. I think the two paths that are emerging. One is scale by proof. When you become successful in a small setup and a small product deployment or development from India, I think then you scale to the large, complete, full-fledged center. The second one is intentionally they want to remain micro, where the COEs of AI and digital, whatever specialty teams are building, they remain in India, whereas the larger enterprise still takes care of the rest of it. So I think in the future I think in summary I would say micro is for innovation, if you want to, macro is for industrialization of the whole thing. I think both of them are important for global capability center ecosystem to blossom further.
So the hybrid model seems like a strategic sweet spot here, and I think it will be a new norm across all the industries. Only one thing you said that they should focus on is you should scale by proof and be lean by design. So that's really important here.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Ravi, I would want to end this podcast with your personal take. So if you are chatting with a CXO who is thinking about setting up a micro GCC in India, so what is that one thing they really need to get right from the day one?
I think getting their why right. Why are they setting up the micro GCC here? I think if you are able to address why very clearly, distinctly, sharply, I think everything that follows, the talent, technology, location, all that will fall in place naturally. Because getting that clarity, absolute clarity of why are they setting up micro GCC here is extremely important, because everything else revolves around it, right? Without that, I think everything else is just, I think that's something I would really push every CXO to be very clear about, right? Because it's not about being small or big, it's being intentional.
Right.
That's important. What is the intent of setting up micro GCC? That's going to be super important.
Yeah, I think great insights, Ravi. And I think what you just said, that start with purpose and not just a plan. So this really is the highlight, of this entire chat that we have. And thanks a lot, and really appreciate you for sharing your perspective here. And thanks to everyone for listening us. Catch you next time.